Welcome to Women Igniting Change, the place to be for women leaders and decision makers who are passionate about changing the world and determined to act. I'm your host, Robin Jorgensen, former corporate executive, global speaker, and founder and CEO of Women Igniting Change. Let's dive in. Hello, changemakers. Welcome back to the Women Igniting Change podcast. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to a purpose-driven CEO who has been honored as a leader in corporate citizenship, chosen as CEO of the Year by Wealth Management Magazine, most admired CEO by the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and is chair and CEO of Signature FD. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I would love to dive into your personal background a little bit. So your background includes a graduate degree in professional counseling, which is not something you typically see in the wealth management space. So how has your expertise in counseling influenced your approach to leadership and team building within Signature FD?
That's a great question. I think the biggest way that it has influenced what we do at Signature FD is with an expertise in how humans fit into an organization. So understanding in counseling, they call it, really the systems dynamic. So understanding every organization is a system, whether it's a family, whether it's a team, whatever it might be. And that team, that system has roles that need to be filled in order for teams to work well together.
Right.
And sometimes those are dysfunctional. You see a lot of that in families where people take on different roles, but you also see it in organizations. And so I think the understanding of teams, of organizations, of systems in general, just gave us a different lens through which to view what was happening in our organization, how to think about how we wanted to design the organization to meet not only the needs of our clients, but also the needs of our team. And that in and of itself, when you can focus on both of those things, you really end up in what I think is a win-win situation, not only for the business, but also for the team.
Yeah, I love that word design, because I think in business in general, there's the traditional structure that we're all accustomed to. Mm-hmm. And we just take that as the status quo and the norm, and people just fit in the slots where they fit. But there's no intentional design to how that could be shifted in a positive way. So I love that you're looking at it through the lens, which is why Signature FD is what it is. So
We've got a lot of amazing people. And I think that, Signature FD, financial design, that whole creative component of just really bring the art. You have to bring the science, you have to bring the technical, because you have to be excellent at the practice of what you do.
Right.
But it is the layering of the art of not only the human, but design on top of all that I think is what sets us apart as an organization.
Yeah. So you've been known to say that you practice a coach with empathy leadership style. Why is that so important? And what's the impact when you lead through that lens?
Yeah, it's hard. I will say that, coaching with empathy. So the two big words there, right? Obviously, coaching. Coaching is different than managing. It's different than just leading. It is you are in the trenches. You are you are alongside.
Right.
You are probably pushing people to a place where they're a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because a coach's job is to help you grow. And so that's an important word, and the distinction there is important. But to combine those two words together to help people grow with empathy means that you are not only there beside them, but you're actually caring well for them. And I like to say my personal mission statement is to love and lead exceptionally well. And there are times as a coach that you have to just love people because they just need the space to be in the moment and to do the things that they need to do for themselves personally. And then there are some times as a coach that you just have to lead them. You have to lead them into the hard. You have to lead them into the places that they're uncomfortable in.
Right.
And knowing the difference, that I think is, when you put those two things together, understanding people well enough,
Right.
not only as humans, but as individuals, to know which one is needed in which moment.
Right.
That's how great coaches build exceptional leaders. And so, that to me is really the fun part. It is the art of what I do. And really, I just thrive in, quite honestly, helping other people be their best selves.
Yeah, I love that. So the training that I have and my team has is in coactive coaching through the Coaches Training Institute. And the coactive part is the doing and the being, because we're human beings, not human doings. And we forget
exactly
that
right.
so often. So knowing which of those to bring in and blending them together in certain instances, I love that that's how you lead, because you're right. That's what makes exceptional leadership.
It
when
is.
your team trusts you and feels secure enough with you in that holistic 360-degree view of how you help them. Love that. That's
well,
amazing.
and I think to that point, one, how do you build that trust? You care
Right.
for people well. They have to trust that you have their best interest
Right.
at heart, which, if I'm being honest, is no different than what we do for our clients.
Right.
The only way that our clients are able to move forward is because they trust us to care for them in a way that keeps their best interest at heart. And so, to me, those similarities, they're human. They're not just industry related. They are human
Right.
related. And so I just love the practice of that and pouring into people that way.
Yeah. What personal values or principles do you attribute to your success in leadership? So you pretty much grew up at Signature FD. You've been there 22 years. You've had numerous hats leading up to being the CEO of the organization. How has that tenure influenced your leadership, and what values and principles have you brought along the way that attributes to your success?
Sometimes I wonder if I'm even the best person to talk about that, because I do feel so incredibly blessed and so incredibly fortunate that, one, I don't think a lot of people get to stay in a place as long as I have. And when you do, when you put down roots that are deep, and you have the space to truly bloom where you have been planted, there is a very deep fulfillment in that. And that's something that I wish a lot of people were able to experience, because I do think that it's legacy producing in my opinion. I think related to that is just this core fundamental commitment to partnership. And I talk about it all of the time. I will say that, the founders of our organization, I mean, we fought like cats and dogs. We fought like brothers and sisters, right? They're the brothers I never had, and I was the sister they never wanted. So it was like, we got after it a lot of the time. It was not always just beautiful, like it. But what we've always been is committed to the partnership, committed to the organization, and committed to each other. And I think that commitment in the face of business gets really hard.
Right.
Growth is really hard. Doing life with people over, that period of time, people experience really hard things. Being committed all along the way to figuring it out. I think it just seeds the space, the ability for us to be truly who we are.
Right.
For there to be respect and honor in being who we are, but also knowing that we are all committed to being our best selves and being the best organization that we can be for our clients. And that's hard to come by these days, in my opinion, in a very instant gratification type of society.
Right. Yeah. So your belief that every person has a purpose in life, and now these are your words, to which wealth properly aligned can help support. Mm-hmm. This is the cornerstone of Signature FD's client promise called Net Worthwhile, which I absolutely love. Share a little bit more about that and how that belief drives meaningful impact, not only for your team, but for your clients.
Yeah, so the core belief there is simply that money is just a tool.
Yeah.
If money was more than a tool, you would be able to take it with you when you die. And you can't. So it is just a means to an end. And in freeing people up to not only say that, but to truly believe that, frees people in a way to explore things that they might not have otherwise explored in life. And so for us, our job is to be so excellent at what we do. One, from the technical aspect of things, but two, from the art of knowing you as a human, knowing you as a client, understanding even, quite honestly, the latent needs that you might have that you either haven't uncovered yet, haven't spoken yet, are too afraid to say out loud. Our job is to create the space where all of that is able to be spoken, to be laid out without judgment, and then for us to bring excellence from not only the technical, but the human side to allow those things to come to fruition for you, to help you really use all of the resources that you have at your disposal. And resources come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. They're not just one thing. And that's it. That is our mission. That is who we are. And empowering people to live freely and to use their wealth to support that. We've just seen amazing things happen when people have that freedom and that security and that trust. And so, that can create generational change in families, in communities. And that's what we're about is impact in the community that we serve in, and for the families that we serve.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into community a little bit more. So one of the core things that you do around the community is something called signature giving. So tell me not only about that program, but you approach this through a very unique way. It's not a top-down approach saying, here's what we're going to do as an organization. Here's the people that we're going to support. You include your team in that decision-making process. So share what signature giving is and then talk about that a little bit more, because that buy-in is golden.
One, signature giving might be my favorite thing that we've ever done as a company. And the reason for that is it was one of the most challenging personal moments that I've ever had as a leader, which was when I became CEO. And, I'm new into the role. And no matter what you think, even if you've been there for forever and a day and all these people, as soon as that title changes and as soon as that role changes, it is a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a whole new ballgame. And I was really challenged because one of our core beliefs and core pillars of wealth is giving. And my philosophy has always been that as a leader, you should be willing to do the same thing that you are asking other people to do. And so as I was looking at the financials of the company and thinking about growth and what we were going to invest in, I thought about our clients and I thought about, well, here we are, we're doing these plans, we're talking to them about growing and protecting and giving and living their wealth. can I say the same thing for our organization? So I literally went through an exercise of taking our organization, our financials, everything about us, and seeing if I could be authentic to communicating about our organization in the grow, protect, give, live framework. And interestingly enough, I came up short in the giving part of the framework, and it crushed me. It really challenged me as a leader, because corporate giving, like, that's something in a partnership where you have to have everyone aligned, right? In the sense of, no, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna take money out of the partners' pockets because we all believe that this is something that we should do. And so I spent months just praying about it and thinking about it, and really feeling incredibly incongruent as a leader of, no, you know what? If we're going to hold this out for our clients, and we're going to say that we believe that this pillar is incredibly important to the overall financial health of a family and an individual, then we're going to do the same for our organization. And here's the beautiful thing about Signature FD. We just figured out a way. And so every year we just put $100,000 line item in the budget. And the board was overwhelmingly supportive. And that's the beautiful part of Signature FD, is that we're all aligned. We may not all want to do the same things or give to the same things, but we are all aligned to the core value of giving and the pillar of giving. And so we said, okay, we're gonna plug the line. We're gonna give $100,000. But every year we're gonna let our people, our team, nominate organizations that they are passionate about, and we're gonna do 2 gifts, but the team votes. Like, this, but we're going to go all in. So not only are we going to give the money, but we're going to give all of our volunteer time and effort the same, because what we want is impact. We want engagement of our team with our community, and we want people to understand that this is how you make a difference. And so it has been a phenomenal. And then honestly, one of our older owners challenged us and was like, well, why would you not give a percentage over budget of additional revenue? What if we have an outstanding year? And so again, I was challenged, and I was like, man, you're absolutely right. Like, I love you people. You are making me grow. And so we do not only the 100,000 that doesn't come out, it is always 100,000 no matter whether we hit budget or not. But then we also get 5% of profit above our budget. And that gets divided equally among all of our team members. And we fund a donor advised fund for them so that they can give their portion to whomever they want, choose. And that was an interesting journey of hearing, well, I did this. I gave, my $1,500 or $1,600, and I waited until the right moment. Those stories of how that affected other people, how proud they were, how they had been wanting to figure out a way to do X and they used this to do it. Those are what we call net worthwhile moments. And those are the things that at the end of the day, when I retire from this organization, it will be the net worthwhile moments that I take with me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. So let's switch over to DEI for a little bit. So DEI initiatives at Signature FD are a significant focus of what you do, with a 90% female executive leadership team, which is unheard of and absolutely incredible. How do those initiatives contribute to the firm's overall success and trickle down to those net worthwhile moments for your clients and your teammates?
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole world conversation around DE&I. If you've watched it increase and then decrease, and then it
Right.
was an asset, and then it was a liability. I mean,
Yeah,
it has
it's
just
shifted
been
a
a
lot in the last couple of years.
fascinating,
Yes.
which at its core, for us, for me specifically, it was more about, listen, diversity of perspectives and voices matters.
Absolutely.
I am a better leader, and I can point to time after time after time after time when I made better quality decisions. I had better data. I thought differently because there were other voices in the room, other voices at the table. And so I believe wholeheartedly, because I've experienced it,
Yeah.
that diversity of thought and perspective and opinions and experiences leads to a more holistic, more well-informed decision-making process. That's one thing. So that from a business perspective seemed like a no-brainer. It doesn't hurt that I'm a woman, and in a male dominated industry, it was like, well, yeah, of course we need more women. Duh. I'm tired of being the only woman in the room. Like, that didn't hurt anything. But at the end of the day, what I saw play out in our, super just small microcosm of the bigger show that was playing out on the world stage was that the polarization in our nation was creating tensions and conversations and issues that people were unskilled at having. And it was leading to misunderstandings and ill intentions and fear when there, in my opinion, should have been safe spaces to grow, because growth is one of our core values. And so the inclusion part for us was incredibly important of, as we grow and as we evolve, we want to be a place, because again, if we want to be congruent, if we are telling our clients that their net worthwhile is all about them and we do not stand in judgment of that, then we sure as hell better be that place for our team as well.
Right.
Period. End of story. Because if you can't be that place within your organization, then you sure as hell can't be that place outside of your organization.
Yeah.
And so again, there was just this real intense part of me that wanted to be a very authentic, but very congruent leader. I don't ever want to sit in a seat and someone say, well, she says that, but she does this.
Right.
And if I'm being 1,000% honest, it is not as much about me as it is about what I have learned. So I had kids later in life, and I've got a 7-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter. I don't ever want to be the woman that they look at and they say she wasn't who she said she was. Right. Because at the end of the day, I want them to grow up believing in themselves, being empowered, simply because of who they are.
Yeah.
And that, for me, set a tone of, hey, you want to lead well? Then you're going to have to do it not only in this seat, but it's going to have to be congruent to the seat you hold at home. Because when Signature FD is gone, my family will still be here. And those girls, yeah, they're everything.
Yeah. What has you, when we go and work with organizations and work with women leaders, we try to have them take the mask off and lead from that authentic place. What has you have, because it's bold and it's brave to lead from that vulnerable place and stand in that truth. What allows you to be your authentic self leading the size of the organization that you have? What gives you that?
So my mother would call it one thing, which is probably not a great thing. Here's what I realized, and I got like 3 coaches. They were all different. They were all at different places in their career, but I knew a couple of things. One, I couldn't fail. There was not an option for me to fail in this seat because we had 100 other families that depend on the success of this organization.
Right.
And that's just team members. That doesn't include clients, right?
Right.
And so I took that very seriously from the perspective of I have to do whatever I have to do to be my best self, to be the best leader that I can possibly be. Doesn't mean I'm always going to get it right, because I don't. But if I have not given it my all, then I will live with regret, and I refuse to do that. That is the one thing that I refuse to do. What I learned in that process of seeking out those different mentors and coaches and doing intense work with them, because quite honestly, at this level, you have to pay people to tell you the hard stuff. Let's be honest, right?
Yep.
What I learned, and it's something that I spend a lot of time with future leaders on, is that who you are, it is not what you do. You are not what you do.
Right.
You aren't. You do a job. Absolutely. There is a seat that I sit in, and as long as I sit in that seat, I will do that job, and I will do it to the best of my ability. It has no bearing on my value as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter, as a human in society, in community. Right. I am valuable just because I am me. And honestly, that wasn't what I believed. I've been a performer my whole life. And it was not until I had my daughter that I realized I'm telling myself messages that I would never be okay if she was saying to herself.
Yep.
And so if that's the case, again, back to being congruent, if it is not okay for her to say to herself, then I'm not going to say it to myself either. Yeah. And that has challenged me at my core to say, you know what? You must find the value in your own self. And that is not, we are not talking about arrogance. We are not talking about boastfulness. We are just talking about basic love and value of self, which is what allows me to walk into a room and be able to speak truth in love.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if I can just say the things and, hey, listen, I love you, I care about you. You know that because I show up for you day in and day out. But here's the truth of the situation, and here's what we got to get to. People need that connection. The world is missing that component of relationship to where you can be you and you are so valuable, and I can be me and I am so valuable, and we can disagree and it's going to be okay.
I love so many things about what you just said.
I could go on for forever. I'm so passionate about this stuff.
The next time I come to Atlanta, we're going out for a glass of wine. By you embodying that conscious leadership, and by you being willing to do your inner work, that allows your team to show up as their authentic selves because you're modeling it beautifully. And when everyone can show up as their authentic selves in whatever role they play in the organization, that just lifts the entire company up as a whole.
And that's inclusion, right? When we talk about DE&I, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That is the inclusion piece that I think people miss because they're so focused on numbers or whatever it might be. And it's like, no. This is about, I told somebody today, it is really hard to hate someone that you have leaned into personally and gotten to know.
Right.
And our whole society has just leaned out of that in a way that is having massive ramifications on our teens, on our young people, on all of our mental health. And I simply believe that we were made to be in community. We were made to belong. We were made to be with people. And one of the easiest ways to get back to that is just to simply serve others.
Yeah. So we could stay on that for the next hour. So I'm going to keep going. Oh my gosh. So you've mentioned and I love this next question. You've mentioned over the next 5 to 10 years that a lot of wealth will transfer to the control of women and that women want things done differently as it relates to wealth advice and guidance. So first, speak to the impact of that wealth going into the hands of women in the next 5 to 10 years. And then secondly, how do you adjust your approach to address that desire for things being done differently?
I think it's fascinating that we even have to talk about that.
I totally agree.
I agree. I continue to be fascinated that this, is just a thing, but we're going to talk about it till we're blue in the face because it needs to change.
Right.
And the reality is that as the baby boomers age, men typically move on before women do. They typically pass away before women do. And so there is going to be a massive wealth transfer. And it won't all necessarily go to baby boomer women. It's going to skip a generation or two. Mm-hmm. And so there's just going to be this massive money in movement. And more than we have ever seen historically, women will be in decision-making positions with money. The reality is that the advisors that they have been with for however long have been their husband's advisor. They haven't been included in the conversation. Sometimes they haven't even been invited to the meetings. Sometimes they're not even listed on the contract. And that's going to change. I mean, I read an article just the other day, I forget where I read it, that the majority of women, when their husband passed, will fire their advisor and go find another one. And you ask what the difference is. I don't think that they want less quality. I don't even think that they really want anything technically different. Mm-hmm. They want to be seen. Right. And they want to be heard. Right. And they want to be addressed as equal in the conversation. Mm-hmm. And that has just not historically been the approach. And I think there are a lot of advisors that will, they will reap what they have sown. Right. Let me just say it that way. Now, we're over here trying to sow some different oats.
I love that. Right? I love it.
And so creating spaces where not only are you seen and heard, but you belong. You belong here because we have been focusing on this for so long. We are woman-led. We are, all of these things where the approach is all about creating that space without judgment. Right. Does not mean that it is not for men as well. Mm-hmm. It just means that it is a space without judgment. And that, I think, frees all people.
Right. Yeah. We could literally have 2 hours of this podcast.
I know. I was looking through your questions and I was like, man, does she not know I can't say hello in 5 seconds? 30 minutes. This is not good. We got too much to talk about.
We do. All right, so let's switch over to the authentic culture that we've been talking about. So in creating that authentic culture, you invite the team members to unsilo their lives and you create a space where they can safely bring everything of who they are to work. And you do this through something called the 7 Fs. F as in Frank. F as in freedom. Let's do female. Can you share what those are, those 7 Fs?
Yeah.
And what the impact of this approach has had on your team as a result and as your clients as a result of that?
Yeah. So we love everything that aligns with one letter. So we have the 7 Fs, we have the 6 Gs. That just makes it super easy to remember.
Sure.
The 7 Fs are really the components of really your resources, just your overall wealth in general. And I wrote them down so that I wouldn't miss one. Your finances, faith, freedom, friends, fun, family, and fitness. Every one of those Fs is a core component of the resources that you have at your disposal.
Right.
In order to pursue your net worthwhile. That's just what that is. Our 6 Gs are our core values. And those are the things that drive our organization. They are the fundamental things that every decision is made through. I think our approach to our team is just simply, again, to be that space where they can explore whether it is the core values, which protects our culture, or the 7 Fs, which ultimately we believe that if people do the work to explore each of these Fs, they will uncover, we talked about latent needs earlier.
Right.
They will uncover desires, needs, wants that they have in those areas, gaps that they want to focus on, that ultimately will lead to, man, this really should be part of my net worthwhile. I really want this to be part of something that I'm pursuing over the long term. And I, back to authenticity, I simply believe that if you want to be a quality advisor and you want to help people pursue their net worthwhile, you should do the work yourself.
Right.
Like, to sit in that seat and to think about these things, to ask yourself the hard questions. You said, to do the inner work. You come out on the other side with an empathy that cannot be manufactured. Absolutely. It just can't be. And so this coaching with empathy, you know why I can sit in a room and see people and create space? Because I have done so much hard over my life. And my ultimate belief was that I don't want my hard, the traumas and the pain and the hurt and all the things, I don't want them to be purposeless. Right. And so the only way that they become purposeful is if I can share them with someone else and it helps that person. And so, again, just creating these spaces where people can do this work without judgment, so that ultimately they can take their experiences and go help someone else who needs it. That's it.
So you've served on various boards and advisory panels within the wealth management industry. How has this experience shaped your perspective on trends and challenges within that industry?
It's always fascinating to me, and it happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. When you walk in the room and you're still the only woman in the room. I mean, this is 2024.
It is. Right? In theory, yes. Yes.
But it happens all the time. And that is not to say, when I walk into those rooms, these men are unbelievable.
Yeah.
At the ways they lead, at the organizations they're running. They are phenomenal. I simply want more women to have the opportunity
Right.
to learn and to experience and to hear,
Mm-hmm.
the wisdom, right, that's in the room. And so I think being in the room for me, I have learned so much of how different people have thought about their business, how they've thought about making hard decisions, how they've thought about leading teams. I mean, you just learn from sitting in the room.
Right.
But then there's the little part of me that, that my mother has some choice words for, which is the part that raises my hand and is like, so you said all this on your website, but I'm the only woman in the room.
Right.
Let's go ahead and have a real conversation about what's happening here. And so again, always with respect,
Mm-hmm.
always with honor for the brilliance that is in the room and the amazing things that have been done. But again, a coach is always pushing the people that they care about to be better.
Right.
And so if I'm going to push myself, then I want to be in a room of people that are pushing themselves to be better as well. Because I have no time or space or energy or desire to sit in a room with a bunch of people who want to maintain status quo.
Right.
I've got too much stuff to do, too many things that I want to do, and I sure don't want it to be status quo for my girls. So sometimes I don't get invited to sit on those panels because, let's be honest, not everybody wants to be poked.
It's funny. This was at least a couple of years ago, so hopefully it's changed. This was a posting on Twitter, now X, and it was a post from Barron's, and it was a wealth management conference, and they showed all the speakers. They were all your typical older white male speakers. There was not one woman. There was zero diversity. And I sat there and I'm thinking, how did that ever get past?
Yeah.
However many layers to create the speaking, like how? It got ripped apart, of course. And it's, again, back to that diversity of thought that you mentioned. Having that various perspectives of getting that speaker lineup together. I want to make up if that had been present, that would not have been the public-facing final say as to who was speaking. So
not only that, but in today's day and age, let's be real. Having watched the rise and the demise of DE&I, right? Specifically people coming after it now, there's real risk associated with it.
Right.
And so companies are left in this limbo space where, do we do it? Do we not? Do we talk about it? Do we not? It seems like the right thing to do, but man, we don't want to get sued, right? And those are really, really hard places to be.
Yeah.
And someone has to stand up and take the risk. That's it. But somebody has to go first. And so, I think I've just kind of told myself, I would rather be first than last. So I'm just going to run at that wall and I'm probably going to get a bloody nose. It'll be fine. It'll be totally fine.
Right.
Just keep going at it, kid.
Right, keep going. Oh my God. So Signature FD, you've really successfully embedded that concept of purpose into your core values and into your client promise. What advice do you give other leaders of different organizations that are looking to cultivate that similar sense of purpose and alignment within their own teams and their client relationships?
The thing I'm focused on right now is simplicity, elegant simplicity.
Oh,
because I think what has happened, and I saw it happen, over 20 years at Signature FD, we can get so caught up in being perfect that we forget to be human. And the reality is that if you make it so hard, most people back away.
Right.
because life is already very full and
Yep.
very hard. And so I would say to leaders today, look, you have got to be excellent at discerning what is noise and what is important. And you have got to be willing to not be perfect and to let go of all the things that don't matter in pursuit of the thing that does. And that is really hard for people because it's risky. Well, what if you choose wrong? What if you're measuring the wrong thing? What if? And it's like, yeah, here's what I know about you. I know that you are so tenacious and so resilient that if it is the wrong thing, you'll pivot when you need to.
Yep.
But if you waste time trying to be perfect, measuring all the things that don't matter, spending all of the time trying to be everything to everyone, then you are nothing to anyone.
Right. Yeah. Where can our listeners learn more about Signature FD?
www.signaturefd.com.
Outstanding. Heather, this was an extraordinary conversation. I cannot thank you enough. I love having women on here that lead from the heart or completely authentically who they are in their leadership and in their life. So thank you so much for taking the time. This was amazing. For our listeners, we will have links to Heather's bio, Signature FD, and some other resources in the show notes, and we'll see you back here next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Women Igniting Change. I know creating change matters to you. If you enjoy what we talk about on the show, please take one action today and share it with someone who could benefit from listening. Until next time, keep standing up and speaking out for what matters.